Board of Education meeting 1590 is now called to order. Dr. Lake, do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do not.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Megan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And now I'd like to invite our students from Long Elementary, Farah and Jacob, if you guys would come forward and lead us in our pledge this evening. And you can either look at the flag or look at the audience, but if you could start us off, that would be great. Thank you, guys. And we are recognizing Long Elementary, and I will turn it over to Dr. Christina Phillips, our principal at Long, to present our recognitions this evening.
Hi, thank you. I'll invite Dr. Mack up with me. And first, we would like to recognize Ms. Carolyn Hopfinger, our Teacher of the Year, if you want to come on up. She didn't want to come up, but you're going to. All right, so Ms. Hopfinger is a speech and language pathologist at Long Elementary and has been there for 10 years. She is dedicated to the success of all students, and she works diligently to ensure that students' needs are met. She goes above and beyond every day, and one small example of that is starting the coffee cart at Long. Each Friday, we all look forward to coffee and smiles from her students. When asked, her team states that Carolyn is an outstanding teammate. She goes above and beyond to support the students and families of Long. She is a marvelous team member who continues to carry the team and help out in any way possible. She's a natural leader and a problem solver. She is solution-oriented when it comes to developing plans for students and carrying them out. She is a flexible thinker when it comes to difficult situations and a wonderful educator and an integral member of our community. So we appreciate her so much.
So, Caroline, we have a certificate recognizing you as Teacher of the Year and then a $30 gift certificate for the online Spirit Weather store.
In case you didn't hear, she would like to trade it in for a snow day.
I do have a weather call at 4:15 in the morning, just so everybody knows. I'm not saying it. Yes, I'm at least going to get up in the morning. Photo bomb.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. And I'm going to ask Mrs. Melissa Mitchell to come on up. So Mrs. Melissa Mitchell is our technology assistant at Long, and she has served in that role for 3 years. Melissa, she's definitely our most sought-out employee at Long. As we start each day with a group meeting, can I have Ms. Mitchell to my room, please? She goes above and beyond to help our staff, but has also worked with students on digital wellness and played a vital role in our back-to-school passport days. She has dedicated herself to making a difference in the lives of our Long leaders, and we are so grateful for her. Congratulations.
Melissa, we have a certificate recognizing you as Support Person of the Year and also a gift certificate for online.
2 snow days coming our way.
2 snow days.
All right. Now I would like to recognize Miss Farah Sacic. Did I do it? I did it. All right. We've been practicing. All right. This is just so special because Farah was a kindergartner when we started, and it's just unbelievable that she's in 5th grade and so grown up. Farah was the first person that came to our mind when we were thinking about a 5th grader that we would want to recognize. She is kind-hearted. She is a friend to everyone and is guaranteed to put a smile on your face if you talk to her. She's a born leader, always has a positive attitude, and she will never turn down a chance to help someone. We have watched Farah grow from a little kindergartner to a 5th grader, and we are so excited to see what the future holds for her. So Farah, we are so proud of you.
So Farah, we have a certificate recognizing you as Student of the Month. So there's that for you. And then you can't have enough Lindbergh swag, so we have a T-shirt for you Oops, as well. So here you go. Here's your T-shirt. So congratulations. We're going to do a quick picture, okay? Awesome. Congratulations.
All right, and last, we would like to call up Mr. Jacob Dahlman. All right, so Jacob is a 4th grader at Long Elementary. He is an absolutely wonderful example of a Long leader. He is kind, helpful, respectful, and works hard to achieve his goals. Jacob can always be relied upon to practice patience and understanding with his peers. He is a wonderful friend and model student who consistently does the right thing with humility and grace. Jacob, you will accomplish great things, and we are honored to be part of your story. Congratulations.
Jacob, we have this certificate for you recognizing you as Student of the Month as well. And then we also have a new T-shirt for you as well. So there you go, buddy. Congratulations.
All right, and do we have any of our Long Student Board Advisory representative members in attendance tonight? That is a lot, like a mouthful. Not tonight, okay. Well, and at this time, we usually take a short break so that our special recognition guests are free to leave unless they want to stay for the business portion of our meeting.
It's exhilarating.
Very exciting.
Go rest up for your snow day. We have one consent resolution this evening, the National School Counseling Week resolution. Do I have a motion to approve the National School Counseling Week resolution as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Andrew, I heard some over here. Second by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Citizen communication regarding agenda items, there are none this evening. 7.01, calendar of events, Ms. Vedder.
Thank you. Our technology advisory meets on January 22nd at 4 p.m. We have our next Lindbergh Speaker Series, Ready, Set, Kindergarten, and that is at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 24th. Strategic Planning Steering Committee meets on January 25th at 6 p.m. here at Central Office. There will be no school on Friday, January 26th for staff professional learning. Pending tomorrow and Monday. Black History Month and Career and Technical Education Month begin February 1st. The Lindbergh Schools Foundation Valentine Sales begin on February 1st. February 5th through 9th is National School Counseling Week. The Finance Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet on February 8th. The Foundation Junior Board holds Parents' Night Out February 10th from 5:30 to 8 at the high school. Registration is required. And we're back here for our regular board meeting on Tuesday next month, February 13th at 7 p.m. And this meeting, as always, is open to the public.
Thank you. Does anyone have any report of meetings for this evening? Christy?
Okay, everybody always looks at me, so I do have one. In December, I attended the Holidays Around the World for Concord Elementary, and what a wonderful celebration it was. The students had all created posters of different holidays, of different nationalities. They're celebrated in December. And then they had some Japanese drummers, and I didn't write the name down, and I probably couldn't pronounce it right either, so. But they were really excellent performers. So it was a lot of fun. It was neat to see. It was just great to see, because as I, in my full-time job, move people across the country, there's a lot of people from out of the United States moving in. And so it was nice to see the inclusion and the acceptance of those that might be a little different. So just want to report that.
Thank you. And 7.03, announcements, Ms. Vetter.
Thank you. We do have a few announcements tonight. First is the announcement of Board of Education candidates. We have 4 candidates that have filed for the 2 3-year terms of office, and their names will appear on the April 2nd ballot as follows: Rachel Braff-Kohler, Megan Vetter, David Randleman, and David Kirschner. Board of Education Candidate Forum will be held on Monday, March 11th at 6:30 p.m. Here, candidates will have an opportunity to share their views, and the community will have an opportunity to submit questions. This will be open to the public and recorded for viewing on the district's YouTube channel following the event. Lastly, the Lindbergh Leaders nominations for 2024 are open. Every year, we have the honor of recognizing individuals in our community who generously give their time, resources, and talents to make Lindbergh an exceptional school district and an outstanding place to raise and educate children. The Lindbergh Leader Award is our district's highest honor, recognizing excellence in leadership and service. Any community member may nominate an individual for this distinguished award, and nominations will be accepted now through January 26th. You can see the district's website for more information. And then after the process is held, the banquet will be held on April 12th to recognize those leaders.
Thank you. And we're going to go back to you for a review of upcoming Board of Education meeting agendas.
Yes. We meet again on Tuesday, February 12th at 7 p.m. for our regular meeting. Tentative agenda items are our regular business items, board policy reviews or updates, our listening and learning report, the first reading of the strategic plan report for 2024 through 2029, official enrollment report, A-plus schools program assurances, and Sappington Elementary School is scheduled to be here for recognitions.
Thank you. And we will do 7.05, our oath of office for our Board of Education student representative. Ms. Vetter will lead that, and Laura, if you want to go forward. We're going to come up here to do it. It's exciting.
Are you ready? Yeah, right here? Right here? Okay. Okay, so just repeat after me. When I say state your name, say your name. Okay. I state your name.
I, Laura Pimentel,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
faithfully and impartially,
faithfully and impartially,
discharge the duties of the student representative of the Lindbergh School Boards of Education.
discharge the duties of the student representative of the Lindbergh Schools Board of Education.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're excited to have you
I think we have a little.
on board with us. Oh, no, the best part. Do we do a group picture?
Yeah, let's do a group picture.
Okay, we're gonna do a
We're
group
gonna do a
picture.
group picture. Adam, did we give you a swag bag? Okay, just checking.
I didn't get one when I was elected. Okay, we'll move to 8.01 cabinet updates, and we'll start with Dr. McKinney.
Thank you. Our group did meet, in fact. This month we talked about amendment to the WRPP program, which will be in the consent agenda tonight, certified retirements update, and we discussed personnel issues as well as the monthly personnel report.
And Joelle?
Our committee did not meet this week because we didn't have school on Tuesday, but I did have a summary report that I give the Finance Committee each month that's available about the financial statements. We really didn't have a ton of financial items on this board meeting because we had the bond issue last month, and December is a slow month at school finance, besides getting our tax payment, which they all already knew that. So I shared some information with them via email. I also invited them to this meeting as we were going to do a finance section early, but we will meet again next month.
Thank you. And Dr. Sparks?
All right, I'll start with Teaching and Learning Board Advisory. As I've shared with you previously, we kind of have a college and career readiness theme going on throughout the course of this year's meetings. So we started by reviewing what was in the Navigator, the changes that students have in terms of courses and new opportunities for next year. And then we continued with looking at various models of how we organize career pathways to redesign the Navigator, make sure that we're helping students understand what courses really help them meet their goals for the future. And then we finalized the meeting talking about one of our Compass goals is to research and develop a K-8 universal field trip experience. And so we've drafted out some really good options. We share those options with the Teaching and Learning Board Advisory, got some feedback. Actually had a great solution as a result of that because we've been struggling a little bit with the sizing of some of our groups, especially at middle school. So we were able, with input and support of one of our board advisory members, able to solve a problem potentially at 8th grade. So that's very, very good news. So that's Teaching and Learning Board Advisory. We also had Student Life Board Advisory in the last couple of weeks. This year we're focusing on transition work, how we're supporting students from kindergarten to, from preschool to elementary to middle, middle to high school, and then even in post-secondary. This meeting focused on the middle to high school transition. So we had Dr. Cochran was there. We had representatives from both of our middle schools to talk about what we currently do and how we are extending another visit for students in 8th grade to move to visit the high school prior to the end of 8th grade. So it's another touch point to support their transition, and then how we can continue to make stepping stones of needed supports to ease that, what is a really big transition between middle and high school. And then technology, Megan mentioned this earlier, we have Technology Board Advisory meeting actually this upcoming Monday. We actually are touring the aviation space, talking about some of the software challenges we've had with the drones, getting some feedback from our advisory related to that. And then at the previous meeting, which I wasn't able to report on, we're having conversations about, it's been 4 years since our technology impact study. So while I don't expect that we are in a place where we're looking to switch our technology, we are at a point where we need to see what's working well, what are our opportunities to continue to enhance the integration of technology for our students. So we have developed a survey, and at this upcoming meeting, they will review that survey as well and give us input before we send it out to students and teachers.
Thank you. And I skipped our MSBA board report, so we'll do that now before we do our student report.
Welcome to the January edition of the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report, and Happy New Year. 2023 was a year marked by technological advancements, but the year will likely be remembered as artificial intelligence's breakout year. Regardless of district size or location, AI has the potential to reshape the landscape of learning and teaching. And in the past year, some of those indications started to emerge. Sadie St. Lawrence was the keynote speaker for the first general session of the 2023 MSBA Annual Conference held in November. Sadie is the founder and CEO of Women in Data, the #1 community for women in AI and tech. During the conference, Sadie provided an overview of what AI is and its current influence on education, including both its positive contributions and potential pitfalls. At the end of the session, MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall joined Sadie for an engaging Q&A that touched on a wide variety of topics in the world of AI. The digital divide was a topic of concern regarding internet access as well as AI.
Yes, I definitely see it as increasing that digital divide, and I think that's a key portion of why we need to address it now, right? If someone doesn't have internet access today or access to a computer and a device, and then they graduate and they come into college or go into the workplace, they're going to feel very left behind when everybody's already used to talking to their AI assistants and used to working alongside them. So I think, as educators, but as those looking at the future of our children, we really have to make sure we're addressing that digital divide now, because it's like anytime you have a hole in your pants, or it just gets bigger from there, right? So making sure that we're addressing the problem today before it starts to expand.
Sadie also addressed some of the innovations and potential in AI that can benefit education.
Yeah, the one I am still so passionate about is the personalized learning. I think anyone who has experience as a teacher would love to spend one-on-one time with students, would love to give everyone that tailored experience to understand and listen to their questions. And so I'm so excited about what this enables, just because we need individuals who are able to meet the student where they are so that they can get that best next enhancement. There's far off things that I'm also really excited about, though, which is like, how do we combine AI with also the metaverse and exploring different worlds and different realms in a really visual and interactive way? We know that individuals learn all different ways, whether that's visual, audio, tactile. How do we start to integrate that into even a more personalized learning? And so I think it'll be really interesting in the next 5 years to see how personalized tutoring with potentially virtual environments starts to really expand our capabilities and what we can do.
The full Q&A portion of Sadie's presentation is available on the AI Resources page of the MSBA website. The AI Resources page also has a basic overview of artificial intelligence and many links to find more information concerning AI in education, government, the world of safety and security, and much more. And don't miss a webinar on July 29th titled Deepfakes and AI's Impact on Local Elections. There will be an overview of AI and a discussion with leaders from MSBA, the Missouri Municipal League, and the Missouri Association of Counties about the use of AI in local elections. Visit the MSBA website for details. The 2024 regular session of the Missouri Legislature convenes this month, and education bills are likely to be a major part of the legislative agenda this year. The MSBA Delegate Assembly gathered on Friday, November 3rd in conjunction with the 2023 MSBA Annual Conference in Kansas City. Delegates approved amendments to 2 existing advocacy positions and 5 new advocacy positions. These positions are now part of MSBA's overall advocacy positions, the collection of statements that guide MSBA's advocacy on state and federal legislation. The new and amended positions can be found on the MSBA website by visiting the MSBA Action Center. MSBA will keep you informed about legislative developments throughout the session through our weekly Legislative Voice newsletter, through critical issue alerts, and through periodic webinars. And don't miss your chance to visit your legislator at the Capitol during MSBA's Advocacy Day. Known formerly as Legislative Forum, Advocacy Day is scheduled for April 9th in Jefferson City. The event will be preceded by a spring virtual meeting on March 13th and lunch and learn sessions on Fridays to provide legislative updates on the issues that matter to you. That's it for this month. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in February for the next MSBA Board Report.
Thank you, Colin, and we'll move to 8.02, our student report. Laura.
Hi. So this month has been pretty tranquil for most students coming back from winter break and all that, but here are just a few things that have been going on at the high school. First of all, I think I can speak for all of the upperclassmen when I say that the new parking lot has been life-changing. Traffic in the morning has improved so much, and every junior that I've talked to has been really happy with the efficiency of everything. And then in the first week of January, we had 27 students attend the 2024 Missouri Thespian Conference in Kansas City. Everyone who I know who attended this conference had a wonderful time interacting with other troupes across the state. Our improv team, the LHS Luchadores, luchadors, received excellent marks from their judges, and we had 2 seniors receive a superior score for their duet musical, meaning that they will have the opportunity to compete at the International Thespian Conference. Additionally, our new theater director, Ms. Stymack, spoke on a panel for a workshop at the conference, and it's just really wonderful to see Lindbergh's involvement at statewide conferences like these. On a similar note, 2 weeks ago, Student Council voted on the theme for our 2024 Gateway Convention, which we will be hosting later this year around November. The theme of the convention will be the art of leadership. This convention provides an opportunity for student leaders from all over the Gateway District to come together and share ideas on ways to improve and maintain school culture. And as a member of Student Council myself, I can say that we are all extremely excited to host this event. Last Friday, HOSA and Key Club successfully ran a blood drive, and we had more than 60 students donate blood, and the event ran very smoothly. In early January, our boys basketball team hosted an invitational in honor of Quentin Lewis, and many students and even some alumni came up to support our team who won the tournament. Each year, the high school runs a Toys for Tots drive, and this year, Avid students and the Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy joined forces to promote the drive across the whole district, and as a district, we were able to raise nearly 700 toys, which is really good. The Lindbergh Art Magazine, Apotheosis, recently finished their most recent issue, and they've started selling their magazine around school. As I was flipping through it, I was personally amazed by all of the amazing pieces of art and writing that our students produce. And then as far as the student representative board advisory committees go, 2 weeks ago, Adam, Ms. Johnston, Dr. Sparks, and I held a virtual orientation for our student representative board committees over Zoom. We introduced all of our student representatives to their role and gave them a brief overview of what to expect. And then we went into breakout rooms to discuss the issues that they felt were important and which they might want to bring up in future meetings. These topics ranged from social emotional support to school safety drills, and I'm really excited to be a part of these conversations in the future. And additionally, last week, Adam and I met with Long Elementary students. We talked about the interactions that they have with others in their building, from their favorite teachers to the existing buddy system in their schools. And we came to the conclusion that when the older students are given the opportunity to mentor younger students, it fosters a sense of leadership among them and helps build a community. We also explored the different ways that their extracurricular activities benefit their lives. A lot of the students stated that their participation in extracurriculars allows them to interact and befriend students in other grades and other classes, which they aren't really able to do otherwise, which leads to a stronger sense of support from their peers. And that is all I have for the student report.
Thank you. It's nice to hear what's going on with the high school and the district with our students. So 9.0 action items by consent. We have action items by consent 9.01 to 9.08 this evening. However, there are none for 9.04 this month. Does anyone wish to remove any of these items for individual consideration? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve consent items 9.0 to 9.01 to 9.08, noting there are none for 9.04?
So moved.
I heard Julia.
Oh, we already said?
All right.
I'll second.
First by Julia, second by Christy. All those, any questions? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 10.0 individual action items, there are none. 11.0 reports, for the record, there are none. However, we have 11.02 other reports. We have one, our annual performance report with Dr. Sparks.
Fabulous. So last month, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education released what are called the APRs, affectionately called the APRs, the Annual Performance Report. And as we go to the next slide, you can see what this is. So essentially, Missouri School Improvement Program, what we call MSIP, has gone through multiple iterations over time. It started back in the early 90s and then continued with MSIP 5 into the pandemic and then kind of paused there as MSIP 6 was being designed. This is essentially our accountability tool for the state of Missouri. It is one tool that we use to gauge our progress in our work. It is not the entirety of how we define ourselves, but it is a piece of information. And my goal tonight is to share with you where we are currently, and then also, honestly, some of the challenges with this particular measurement tool and why it's so important that we are a part of the Success Ready Students Network and continuing to look at a better, more accurate way to define the work of schools. So as we continue to the next slide, you can see, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So as we can see on the slides, there's 5 years, 4 years, 10 years. Any insight into why those year increments are different? And when might the next one end? We don't know.
So typically they are in that 5-year range. MSIP 5, they were in the process of redesigning and trying to do something different with MSIP 6. Then you also had COVID in there, so it paused a lot of the work. So that's why you see that longer duration of MSIP 5. There is the expectation that MSIP 6 is going to be a short term. We're not going to see another 10-year experience like we did with MSIP 5. Okay. And again, I do think that's where the work of the Success Ready Students Network is going to get to influence what comes next.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are welcome. So back to this slide, our APR this year is 90.3. This is actually a 3.7 percentage point gain over where we were last year. It is determined based on a multitude of measures, the most significant of which is our student achievement test data, specifically the MAP test. Even though we really focus our work around NWEA and those growth measures, APR, the way it is currently designed, is still fully a result of the MAP and end of course assessments at the state level. There's also other metrics, graduation rates, success ready students. How are we aligning our work to ensure that kids are ready for whatever their post-secondary expectations are going to be, attendance, even things like required documentation. Did we get our information in on time? And how is our planning as a district? Obviously, we're going through a lot with strategic planning right now. That all folds into what ends up being this particular score. And as we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about where this falls in terms of a greater understanding. So as I said, we're at 90.3. We are one of 4 districts in the St. Louis metropolitan area who have reached the 90 percentage point mark or above. So you can see Brentwood, Kirkwood, and us in terms of school districts. The Leadership School is actually a K-4 charter in St. Louis County. So that's kind of an outlier in comparison with the rest of them. We had more districts in the area who were above 90% last year, and I think that speaks to the volatility of this data from year to year. Some of our neighboring districts were sitting at 94%, and they're in the 87% range now. So I'm going to explain why I think that volatility is happening and what that might mean for us in the future if we continue to use this current APR as our measurement tool. The state of Missouri uses this process to determine accreditation. Right now, because we're still in the development stages, you need 3 years of data to get to the point of getting an official accreditation determination. Accreditation with distinction, which is what we always had in the previous iterations of the Missouri School Improvement Program, requires a 95% or above. And I think it's really noteworthy that what we're seeing in the pattern of this particular APR is that it's a very limited number of schools and districts who are reaching that. Most of it we're seeing in small districts or K-8 districts. Last year, there were 4 districts who met that criteria. None of them retained that criteria going into this year. So again, it speaks to the volatility of this data. Even when you look at the districts who have 90% of their points or above, last year there were 41 districts who met that criteria. This year there are only 22. So as we go to the next slide, just another way to compare the difference between MSIP 5 and MSIP 6. What you'll note, these are those accreditation benchmarks that I mentioned earlier. Again, MSIP 6 has not given us a designation of accreditation. That won't happen for another year. But what you'll note is that as you look at the green line, which represents MSIP 5, it used to be criterion reference. Did districts hit the mark on what the expectations were? So you saw a significant number of districts who would be in that accreditation and specifically in the accredited with distinction range. As you look at I believe they're yellow and blue lines, you can see that APR was completely redesigned to be more of a bell curve, fewer districts making it into those higher ranges of percentage points. So it's just a good way to compare what we had in the past is not anywhere close to what we have now in terms of this accreditation system.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I read an article that kind of talked about that they're using a formula. For example, it's not like how our students may take a test at school, and if you get all these right, you got a 95% done. It's more of like they have some kind of formula where some things count for more percentage points, some count for others, and they're not publishing that formula, and that formula is changing each year. Is that?
You are one step ahead of me.
I'm sorry.
So yes, I'm going to get there. And I think,
Okay.
I'm assuming you're talking about the growth data. It can be different for every school, every district, every student. So, and it is the reason why it is our belief that that's the reason why we're going to see the volatility in this data. You are correct. We can't get a metric. Like when we do our assessment data with NWEA, we know exactly what 1 year's growth looks like. It is based on an average year's growth of student learning. What the state and the APR are doing is they're saying, well, it depends, because what you did previously will tell us what we should expect from you in the future. Which means if we do really well in a growth area, then that means they're going to extend what they would expect to see us do the following year. And therefore, it gets harder to
So
meet
they're
the
basically like
expectations.
re-norming the data every year.
Correct. That's a good simplistic way of summarizing it, yes. And it also means that a student, so I'll take Laura, let's just say, for example, takes the test and she gets a score and she's attending a Lindbergh school. Her growth data point may be this, and a student in a neighboring school might have a growth data expectation that's higher or lower, even though they were at the exact same place. So again, I think that's evidence of the volatility that we can expect to see in the APR from year to year if this is the tool we continue to be measured on by the state. Yeah, so great question. Thanks for putting it out there. No, it's dead on. All right, Colin, if you go to the next slide. So what you see here is just a summary of points. Don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this, but I will say that 70% of our point allocations come from the performance data, the MAP and EOC data, both what our students actually do in terms of achievement and also what their growth measurements are. And then the continuous improvement is the ongoing work of the district. And in the next slide, kind of break this down for you a little bit. Jen stole my thunder with the growth analysis. But one of the things you'll notice is that we are all, in terms of our MAP and our EOC data, we are either on target or we have met the target. And then if you look, even with the volatility in this data, our growth was either above average or average for all of our student groups and the total. So again, the data is good this year. I don't trust that it'll always look this way. And if we go to the next slide, you can see the other 30%, which is that continuous improvement area. This is where, it's a lot of compliance components. It's the work of our strategic plan, which is also our comprehensive school improvement plan. Next year, there will actually be more points to this because we've responded to some standards. We had some narrative to submit to the state as well. They have held that. We fully expect that will be full points based on the feedback that we've gotten. Attendance data is in here. It is the norm now that people are not getting full attendance points. There's just a pattern that attendance is not what it used to be prior to COVID. Dr. Lake, did you have a comment that I interrupted you on? Oh, I thought it.
What is the criteria for the attendance? Do we know what the criteria
I
is?
do, but I'd have to go back and look at it. There's all kinds of calculations. I don't remember it offhand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The biggest attendance indicator is our goal is to be 90% of our students at 90% attendance or above, and we are not there. So in terms of how they might calculate the nuance beyond that, I don't know, but that is always our attendance goal. That every student, that 90% of our students are attending 90% of time or more. It's not an average of our overall attendance rate. It drills down to individual students being in school 9 out of every 10 days or more. And on the next slide, I realize this is super small, but this just gives you a comparison from last year to this year. So that those last 2 columns at the end are the data. So anything that you see in blue means we have met the target. Anything that you see in green means we're on track. And then anything in yellow is approaching. So you'll notice, as you look at this just at a glance, we have some things that were improved between last year and this year, where we went from on track to we met the target. The approaching, if you recall last year when we talked, one of the things that was surprising in this data was the college career readiness assessments. And if you remember, we didn't get our APR until March last year, so there wasn't much we could do with knowing that we had a flaw in our system, and we needed to ensure we were getting assessments that matched students' post-secondary expectations. So we've been working on that, but that's the reason why that has stagnated at a yellow. We did not have time to resolve that before the next round of data went through. Next slide, please, Colin. So here's the summary, which I've already hit on these points. The growth scores, like I said, they're unique to students, to schools, and to districts. They're going to result in volatility in this data. The other thing that I did not mention that is really important, if we were to go back, and we don't have to go back, you'll notice that there is growth data that is calculated. I'm going to use social studies as an example. There is growth data that is calculated for the social studies assessment, which is we use end of course government. Students have never taken a social studies test as a part of MAP prior to that EOC. Yet we get a growth score on whether or not students have met the expected score they should have had. Those growth scores are actually a conglomeration of all of the MAP assessments in 8th grade. So they take a look at the students' ELA 8th grade assessment, their 8th grade science assessment, and their 8th grade math assessment. And based on their performance on those 3 subjects, determine what they should do on the social studies end of course exam. That happens universally for all the end of course exams. So even some of the growth expectations, the alignment is a little questionable. So again, while our data is great, it is a cautionary tale of knowing that it doesn't tell the full story of what is happening in our schools, and it is a piece of information that we take with a grain of salt. And then I've already talked, this is old data by the time we get it, right?
I want to clarify, so they're predicting growth without having a baseline?
They're claiming the baseline is all content areas, yes. So, which again speaks to why it's so important that we continue to do the work to revise the system. So, did you want to add?
I would say the growth data, what Tara just talked about, and the predicting the growth is really volatile, and it's going to be that way. What I would like to highlight, though, is our achievement is good. And what I want to highlight is that's real achievement that's going on in our classrooms. It's not us stopping 2 or 3 weeks at the end of the school year and teaching to a test. It's the work that's going on, and we're going to continue to see that with the systems that Tara and her team have put into place. It's no different. You know, what we kind of used to do was, you've all done this before, you cram for a biology test, and 2 weeks later, if you took that same biology test, if you got an A on it when you crammed, the next time you took it, it would probably be a C, then 2 weeks later. So what we're seeing is this is real achievement. This is a true reflection of what's going on achievement-wise, not growth-wise. Our growth, our NWA is showing our growth. This volatility is there, and I'll just give you an example. We have a local school district. It's one of the highest performing school districts in the country, not just in St. Louis, was in the mid-90s last year and is now in the mid-80s because they didn't meet that growth. But they didn't change anything. Their curriculum didn't change. Their teachers didn't significantly change. Nothing really changed, but because of how they're trying to predict growth, they didn't meet it, so they dropped down. So, and they've been getting quite a bit of negative publicity because they dropped so much, which it's not an accurate reflection of really what goes on in that school. So, again, that's why the Success Ready Network is so important, that we are being held accountable for meaningful things, and having these 20 school districts redesign an alternate APR that really reflects what we want from our students and from our community is really, really important. And I just happened to look over at Laura and her face when you were explaining some of that. She was like, when you were talking about my science score and my English score and all this is going to predict my social studies growth score. So anyways,
We felt the same, Laura.
Go ahead, Laura.
None of it was real. I mean, like, it made sense what you were saying, but it didn't, like, I just don't understand how, like, someone's social studies score can be predicted by how they perform in math or science, because they're completely different. I don't know.
We have the same question. Correct.
Well, and this just proves the need for systemic change in education, and it's just, so great to see that Lindbergh is at the forefront of this and is really putting in the efforts with the professionals and experts in this field to create what students need to achieve and to show that. And so I think it works both ways.
Because we say it's not about not being held accountable, it's about being held accountable for things that truly matter to students, to parents, and to teachers. And this, when you were on the webinar and you started asking questions about, well, how did you predict that? Well, they won't tell you. And if you look, it's this bell curve, you know. The old one was, hey, here's the criteria. If you can hit that, hit it. So, you know, I use an analogy sometimes. They don't allow, you know, they don't do who gets a driver's license on a bell curve, right? There's a criteria, right? You either can get a driver's license or you can't get a driver's license. You can either read at a third grade level or you can't read at a third grade level. Or you can either, you know, do third grade math or not do third grade math. And renorming that every once in a while to raise expectations is a good thing, but not every year, like every 10 years maybe, or every 7 or 8 years. Hey, let's look at it. Is that still a valid norm score to say you are at a third grade level or you are at a fourth grade level? And so that's what we're hoping with the Success Ready, and NWA type of assessment does that for us, and it really holds us accountable. So.
And so my thoughts are just that it's like anything else, like a rating on Google, or 4 stars or 5 stars. You still have to read the comments, right, to see what it is. So for this APR, I know people get hyper-focused on these scores and on the MAP score, but this isn't really, as Dr. Lake keeps preaching, it's really not where you look. You look at the NWA, where the growth is. So it's just another reason to do that instead of focusing on these type scores. So that's it. That's my piece.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. We do not have 11.03 or 11.04 this evening, and we already conducted our executive session, and there's no need, so we will move to 14.0 adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn board meeting 1590?
So moved.
Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Board meeting 1590 is adjourned.